All right. You ready?
Yeah.
I am Austin Lugo.
I'm Andrew Harp.
This is With Nothing to Say.
Let's talk about Fallen Angels.
Sorry, I'm looking for. I already forgot the movie. I put it in my watch list.
You suggested it.
I suggested it. Okay. Before we get started next week we're going to be watching the Clint Eastwood classic Escape from Alcatraz. I'm very excited for this film. I saw Body Snatchers for the first time just a couple of days ago, and I have seen Dirty Harry before, so I do love the great Don Siegel. So I think this one's gonna be quite a blast,
Yeah, it
and
rocks.
always fun to see Clint Eastwood in a movie. So I think it's gonna be a good time.
But yeah, it's a surefire hit.
But this week we watched Fallen Angels, a completely unhinged film. I think there's no other way to describe this movie. It might as well be
I
written by a
guess.
crazy person. I don't know. It's pretty unhinged.
No,
Uh,
I disagree.
Go on.
I think it's a beautiful, formal masterpiece. I don't think it's that crazy. I mean, it's crazy, but it's like
Sure.
only in its visual, only because obviously a big part of the movie and the big reason why a lot of these Wong Kar-wai movies are great is because of Christopher Doyle's cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think like, especially with this movie in particular, he like utilizes these like wide angles, right? These wide angle
Super
lenses.
like fisheye. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like bordering on fisheye. And so when you watch it, it does kind of make you feel kind of crazy because everything is so like kind of almost stretched out. And so when you watch
Mm-hmm.
the movie, yeah, like I said, it kind of just makes you feel kind of sickly almost. But I think that the story, I think that the mood and the feelings that come from the characters and just what's going on in the movie, I don't think it's any different than what you would expect from a movie like Chunking Express or In the Mood for Love.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you have your same thematic ideas behind it, but as you said, the cinematography is wild here. The lighting is
It's very green.
very green, very harsh lighting, a
It's,
lot
it's
of
a very
like
green. It's a green
overhead.
movie. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
this green movie.
Chunking Express is also pretty green.
Oh yeah. I haven't seen Chunking Express yet, but I've seen similar like from like stills and stuff. It looks similar. The editing is also insane in this movie. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
this one's
everywhere.
got some pretty crazy editing. Yeah.
It's shot almost entirely handheld. I mean, it's very rarely on sticks. It's constantly moving the whole time. It just never stops.
I thought the beginning was really crazy. The beginning is especially pretty like, fast paced once it gets into it.
Oh yeah.
I love all the editing in the movie. I think all of it is like amazing. I love all the fast paced editing. I like when the frame rate changes and it like
Yeah.
kind of when it kind of like that choppy frame rate. That's very like 90s, I think, but I love it.
hmm
I love everything about just yeah, the editing. It's so good. I love yeah when I love the way he films like the point of view when you're in a car or on a motorcycle or on a bus or something like that and you're like moving
Yeah.
through the streets. Like I like when they go through I'm going off now about the movie. Like I'm not really
Go
like
off.
focusing on one thing in
Who
particular. I'm
cares?
just saying like it's just it's a great looking movie. Like like I don't know how else to like it looks good. It's edited well. Like it's just from a stylistic point of view without even talking about like its themes and characters or whatever. It's fantastic.
What a wild ride it is. And we got this guy who's an assassin. And he's got a partner
Yeah, like
who
an assistant.
I guess they're not romantically involved in the traditional sense.
They're not romantically involved at all.
Well, I mean, she fucks his
She wants
sheets.
to.
Yeah. She takes his sheets
She
home.
wants a relationship with him, but it's
Yes.
as they set up in the very beginning, in the very first scene,
Very first
like
scene.
we're partners and we shouldn't get emotionally involved, and that kind of like creates kind of like one of the conflicts of the movie, in that like the beginning kind of reminded me of a Michael Mann movie, in
Yeah.
that it introduces you kind of like Thief or something like that, where it kind of like introduces you to their like their criminal kind of relationship and
hmm
their formula, right? Their kind of
Yeah.
their I'm trying to think of the word, like their routine, right? Like it sets up kind
Mm,
of like the routine and everything, and you can see and you can kind of see it and understand it, very easily. It's not overly explained. That reminded me of like a Michael Mann movie, like I said, like Thief or something like that. And I love stuff like that. Stuff like that is just so much fun to watch.
it's incredible. And what a routine it is. So detail oriented in the way they
Yeah,
have this stash house in which they keep the key over a broken window so they never have to have a key on them. Which I guess is probably the best way to go about it. I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's better or worse. What do you think?
about what?
Well, having the key there, like instead of just having the key on them, like why keep the key there?
That detail didn't even cross. I don't care. Like that's a detail that completely doesn't even like that's just like another thing for them to do. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Another little like I guess piece of the environment for them to interact with.
But it's a great stash house. Very cool looking stash. I mean, it's basically just like a room and a kitchen, and she cleans it all up to, I don't know, so he can sleep there or whatever. I guess
Yeah,
also like if it gets raided, the idea is that like there's no fingerprints or anything, like there's no way to connect
sure.
them to the stash house. And she takes care of all of the business side of things, I guess. She's the one who scouts out the places, she meets the people, she gets the cash, all that stuff. And of course, he does the killing because he is a lazy person, as he says. He doesn't like to think
Yeah,
about
yeah,
things. He just goes out and kills people.
yeah. And again, well, not again, but the movie, of course, a lot of voiceover. There's not like a lot of like conversational dialogue in the movie, I guess.
Very little, especially here at the beginning. There's almost no dialogue here at the beginning.
It's mostly the voiceover, which I love the voiceover. I think it's great. I think it's perfect.
It can be hit or miss for me. I think there's times where,
Well, like in a movie, yeah, like in
yeah,
movies
yeah,
in
yeah.
general,
Not this
they
one.
can
Yeah, I'm
kind of
not
suck.
saying this one. I'm saying in this one, great. 2 thumbs up. I think the voiceover works really well. But in general, voiceover is kind of hit or miss. And I think
Right, yeah.
what separates a great voiceover from a bad voiceover is a bad voiceover tries to explain what's going on. It tries to
It
add
tries to, yeah,
context,
yeah. Yeah,
right?
it tries to like the thing about voiceovers is that they're 80 yard in, right? Like they make a movie, they film it, they edit
Mhm.
it together, and they're just like, and then someone is like, you know what? I don't know what's going on, or like I think that we need to add a voiceover to explain this or that, So yes, yeah.
But a great voiceover like this never tries to explain anything that's going on in the movie, but rather is simply the diary of these different characters. You're getting into the mindset of these different characters throughout the film, which is fun also because this voiceover jumps from person to person other than just like
Right.
this from one person's point of view. You get kind of a couple of different ones, whether they're kind of a psychopath in one way or a psychopath in another way, or maybe not a psychopath, although I would argue many of the characters in this film are psychopaths.
I wouldn't say they're psychopaths. They're just kind of,
I mean, if you kill people for a living and have no feelings about it, it feels a little psychopath-esque.
I don't know. I think it's just, I feel like it's more just kind of like, obviously killing people's bad, but I'm just saying that like psychopathic, I don't know. I think it's more, he does, but like if he was psychopathic, I feel like he would have like some enjoyment out of it. And I mean, halfway through the movie, he wants to get out of it. Like he kind of recognizes kind of like his situation and how kind of fucked up it is, and he decides to exit. I like too that the movie doesn't explain like how he got into being an assassin. It doesn't do anything like that. It just kind of he just is, yeah, and which I enjoy very much. You don't get any backstory from characters except for maybe like you get like some backstory on the other of the three characters that they focus on. The I don't know his name, but
The guy who doesn't talk.
you got the mute guy. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know any of the characters' names in this movie.
I have the Wikipedia page right in front of me with their
Okay.
names probably, but I don't.
Doesn't matter.
It's just they're whatever. It's kind of hard to distinguish, but the assassin, the assistant, the mute guy, like it's all Blondie.
Mm-hmm. It's all there.
Yeah, it's all there. Yeah,
Well, I love the very first time we get to see the assassin go kill a guy, and
yeah,
it's
so
all
cool.
planned out
It's very John
beforehand.
Woo.
Very, yes, very John Woo. I love and they do this pretty much every time he goes and kills someone, and they cut back between the partner who kind of scouts out the location and him killing them, which is a really great edit because you kind of get a lay of the land and like what's going on. But again, it's never explained like you're going to kill this person because this person did that. Like it doesn't matter. And he recognized that like we don't really need to know why he's killing these people because he doesn't know.
Yeah, he doesn't care. Yeah.
Why should we care? And so we don't. We assume like they're seem to
They're
be
gangsters or criminals or
gangsters,
something like that.
mafia,
Yeah.
gambling rings, prostitute rings,
Yeah.
whatever. It seems to be something. And again, we don't care why or what for. But he goes in. Well, before he goes in, you have that great bus scene where you
Right.
see
Yeah.
his face in the mirror, and it's a great shot because you get to watch like I have no idea where they are.
They're in Hong Kong.
They're in Hong Kong. Okay.
Yeah, Wong Kar-wai. He's a Chinese
Well, I know he's
Hong
a
Kong
Chinese
director.
writer, but well, Hong Kong at the time then was still part of Britain, right?
Yes, that's true.
Okay,
Yeah.
because they say they go to they travel to China. That part confused me because I knew they were speaking Chinese. I knew they were in, and I knew that he
Yeah.
was a Chinese director, but I knew
Mhm.
they weren't in China. So Hong Kong makes
Right.
sense because it was still. When did Hong Kong not be part of Britain anymore? That was pretty
It was like
recent. I mean, I guess it'd have
it
to
was
be.
like 90. I think it was like 99 or 98 or something like
Okay.
that. The movie takes place in present time, which was this movie came out in 1995. So I think it's like right before Britain left.
Anyways, really great neon light signs and traveling on buses and all that kind of shit. And he goes, and this guy is a badass.
I love the neon signs. So good.
This guy is a badass assassin. Like he doesn't
Yeah,
give a
he's
shit. He's
cool.
got confidence. I think that's what you need as an assassin.
He's
Is
got
just
style
pure
and swag.
confidence.
He's got
He's got
swag. Everybody in the movie has swag.
so much swag. And he never once flinches or like hides behind anything. He just walks into a room, holds out his guns, and just fucking starts shooting.
With two guns, yeah. Very Wong Kar-wai, like the way that everybody reacts to getting shot is very Wong Kar-wai. There's like sparks flying everywhere.
Mhm.
Everybody like flips up in the air. It's kind of like the John Woo action scenes where they kind of reach like this like crazy kind of religious transcendent level where like the editing suddenly goes nuts and it just completely flips out and yeah, I like those scenes a lot.
Truly a blast of scene. And the music that goes along with all of these moments, so
Well,
great.
yeah,
It's
the
so many
music in the
bops.
movie is amazing. The music in the music is amazing. It kind of, I think that I believe like I read that like Wong Kar-wai wanted to get like a Massive Attack music, but he was unable to get it.
Oh, okay.
I think he just had like other like trip hop tracks, which is very
Yeah.
90s. I like that a lot, and of course he uses a lot of like nostalgic like canto pop music as well throughout. I love the music; it's really good. It fits really well throughout the whole movie. Once again, lots of just perfect stylistic choices. Just that's just how that's just the way it is.
It's really incredible. So he's going out there, he's killing people. His partner is falling in love with him. She's like going to all of the
In this very
places that he
indirect way. It's
goes.
very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going through his trash.
It's almost like she, instead of falling in love with him, she almost falls in love with the idea of being him, as if she wants to exist in his existence. Not so much that she
Right.
wants to be with him, but that she wants to be him by going the places he goes, by taking his trash, looking through his trash.
Going to the bar
She
that he
goes to the
goes to. Yeah.
bar and all that kind of stuff. And he kind of plays into that too, right? He leaves these kind of clues. He gets the little cigarette case
Yeah.
and it's kind of this back and forth. It's this weird sort of psychosexual relationship where they kind of both know that they're playing this game and that it's more than just a partnership. And of course, that's how they end up, or the reason, I suppose, that he ends up breaking off the partnership, partly because he wants to get out of being an assassin as a whole, but then also because he recognized that this relationship isn't what he originally planned it to be. And it's getting too complicated.
Yeah. There's like I said, it's there's too much emotion going on. There's too much and you could kind of read into that. You could kind of read into like the guy and maybe like, it could be like a situation in which maybe he had a relationship before that ended badly because maybe he had some enemies or something that killed that person or something like that. Or once again, that's just a theory. You can read into that if you want, but nothing is really explained. It's just kind of, it's explained more simply to that. And once again, like these two characters, they don't really talk, but they have like this weird kind of cosmic connection, like you said, that kind of connects them in a way where they're kind of operating on this level, where they're working together, so they kind of like communicate almost telepathically in a weird way. Like you have that scene later, right, where he goes to McDonald's and he's eating at McDonald's. I wish I could be there, by the way. I would love to go back in time and hang out in the like I think basement level Hong Kong
Hong Kong
McDonald's
McDonald's.
at 1 a.m. That'd be so,
What a vibe.
I would kill to be there. Oh, it's so cool. And while he's there, he's like eating and he meets Blondie, which is like this sort of funny kind of whirlwind lady. She likes the assassin guy a lot. And they have that scene where they go and to her place, and she kind of like messes with him, and he kind of like submits, and they kind of like, yeah, I think they like have sex at her place, and it goes back and forth between her and the assistant, between them having sex and the assistant like masturbating, and she like cries after masturbating in his bed. And that's a good scene that, like I said, it kind of creates this, I'm assuming that both these things are happening at the same time, right? And it's great. It kind of creates this like, even though she doesn't necessarily know completely what's going on, she kind of still does, right? Because there's that weird
Yeah.
kind of telepathic thing going on.
It's the cosmic duality of these two characters where
Yeah,
one character is obsessed with the body. I would argue Blondie is obsessed with the physical being. Of
sure.
course, she gives him a shirt right when they first get to the house because they had run in the rain and they need to change clothes or
Yeah,
whatever. And she says that it still fits him, which suggests that him and Blondie have had
they had
a
known each other.
previous,
Yeah,
they had known each other before.
they don't explain it very much at all, though. It's like not
No,
at all. It doesn't matter.
not really. But she remembers this relationship that happened very well. And he doesn't remember at all because he's living in his own little world and he doesn't care about this show. She's obsessed with the body. She's obsessed with the physical, the sexuality, all that kind of stuff. And she is obsessed with the soul, the idea, the more figment. And so when you cut back between these two characters, you kind of see two sides of the same person because they're not only expressions of the women and how they feel about him, but also the different lives that he's living, the ghost like life of living as an assassin. Of course, there's that great scene when he's in the bus and he meets an old school friend who invites him
Yeah, it's a great
to a
scene,
wedding.
funny
This
scene.
this movie's very funny, by the way. There's a lot of very funny moments in this movie.
There's some good moments, yeah. Especially with the of course, especially with the mute guy. I think there's a lot of
Yes.
like comedy to be had there. It's a silly character, but yeah. Yeah, and then that scene too where he meets the school friend, that's kind of like almost like a turning point for him, right? Where he kind of he gives him like a insurance policy or whatever, and he's like an insurance guy. He's like, oh, we can get a policy for you, whatever. And I think he just is kind of like, maybe I should get a normal life or something like that, because you kind of like look at his school friend and he's like, oh, I'm getting married and all this stuff. And he simultaneously, the assassin is simultaneously completely uninterested in anything that the guy was talking about, but he still can't help but feel that he needs to change his life in some kind of a major way anyway.
Yeah. He has this craving for normalcy, which what better reflects normalcy than an insurance agent? I mean, that's just as normal as you can get.
Another very Michael Mann thing, the need, the want to exit from your, I don't know, life of crime or life of debauchery into something else, more quote unquote normal, and how difficult or impossible that is.
Yeah, he's simultaneously he's put himself into this own position, so it's all his own fault. But then also he considers himself faultless because he's fallen into this position and he doesn't know how to get out. He's fumbling down this road in which he can't seem to stop himself. He's forever entangled and he doesn't know what else to do because that's just, I mean, I guess if, once a hitman, always a hitman. I don't know how you get out of the hitman game, but it does not seem like an easy thing to do.
And once again, as it's shown in the beginning, he's kind of operating on this kind of like mechanism. He's kind of stuck in this cycle of doing this work, which he probably likes doing a little bit, but he still also finds, probably difficult to do over time. And there's that great scene, right? When he gets shot in the arm and then he goes back to his like apartment to dig out the bullets and he's like, oh, it's exhausting. Like I find myself getting shot a lot more. It's like really exhausting. I think that's what he says. And oh, that's a great moment in a line because that encapsulates exactly what we're talking about right now, but it says it better than anything that you and I can say.
It certainly does. And I think that's one of the most masterful parts of this film is the ability to make one of the most exciting things in the world, a professional assassin, the ability to make that boring, to make something like that feel so much like a 9 to 5. I mean, it feels as if, and I think part of this has to do with this sense of repetition. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it reminds me like a like Samurai. Have you ever seen that movie? Kind of reminds me of that movie
Yes.
too.
Yes, it definitely has some of those vibes.
The French movie.
So while we have all of this going on, we get to meet the mute man,
Right, yeah. Yeah.
who
He's
is
great.
he's crazy. He's wild. He's truly wild at heart. I love him.
He's like a guy like yeah, he's cool. He's like this guy who's mute. And what he does is that he, in the middle of the night, he will take over people's like food businesses and stuff. And he'll try to sell things to people, sort of. You get that little like compilation of scenes where he's like forcing people to buy like melons and stuff like that. Like it's not that he's selling things people, he's bothering people late at night enough to the point where people is just like, I'll give you money if you stop bothering me.
Like he rips off this person's clothes to wash them, or that
Right.
poor
He
man,
like rips.
that poor
He's
man
like,
that
here.
he shampoos, who's forced into many
That
altercations
guy
with
is the
him
most
over and
punished
over again.
character in the whole movie.
I know, this poor guy. He's just trying to live his life.
You of course get the ice cream truck scene, which is great. Very funny, where he's got like he clearly like stole like this ice cream truck, and he forces the guy to like eat ice cream, and then the guy's family shows up and he makes them eat ice cream. It's just like, what the fuck is going on?
The ice cream scene is one of my favorite scenes in the movie because he's forced
It's
to
a good
eat so
scene.
much ice cream. He can't stop. He's like, you got to eat more and more ice cream. And he just can't stop. He's like, I'll pay you. And he's like, no, no, no. You got to eat more ice cream. And then his wife calls and his wife doesn't believe him.
He just kind of likes fucking with him.
So he's like, you know what? If you don't believe me, wife, you come. And of course, she brings the whole family. So now you got the kids, you got the grandfather, you got the wife. They're all there. They're all forced to eat ice cream, and they're driving around Hong Kong. It's perfect. It's peak cinema. It's everything you want cinema to be.
Yeah, and of course his mom was killed by an ice cream truck.
It all comes together.
It's a funny detail. It's a very weird detail.
And he lives with his father, his aging father.
His dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're chilling. Yeah,
That's a
they just live
cool,
at
they
home.
live in like
I
a
like their space. I
hotel
like
or
their living
whatever,
space.
apartment.
Something like that. An apartment, yeah.
It's a cool space.
There's a scene where he goes to the bathroom and he locks him in for some reason.
Again, the mute
As far
man
as I can tell,
is
there was no reason to lock
crazy.
his father in the bathroom.
There's very little reason for anything this man does. He is the,
He's like a night owl that just sort of goes nuts at night.
I guess
He's
in
weird.
ways, he's sort of the reflection of our assassin, because our assassin is very cool, calm, and collected. He does the same thing over and over
Sure.
again. There's this very specific routine. And then on the other hand, there's this very hedonistic mute who does whatever he wants. He doesn't play by anybody's rules. There's no logic. There's no reason to anything he
He's
does.
essentially robbing people. He's like robbing people. Like,
But he's not doing it for the money because, as he says, he doesn't need the money. He doesn't have to pay rent. He doesn't have really any specific need for it. He just does it to do it. Like he finds some sort of weird joy out of the experience. And I don't know what that joy is or why he gets that joy, but there's something there for him, something masochistic almost.
it's just the feeling of like, I don't know. It's just the feeling of being like, I don't know, like a person with no shame, like hanging out in Hong Kong in the city at night. The energy, the feeling, it's like magnified, and I don't know. It's just probably just a feeling. This movie's great, by the way, in that it only takes place at night.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that, but it's all night scenes, all neon light and all that shit.
Yeah.
But he wants out the, not the mute man, the assassin wants out of the game. He's done. And
Yeah.
he's gotta break it off with his partner. He's like, how do I tell her? But they've never met up to this point. Like they've never talked to each other, they've never seen each other.
I don't know if they have it. It's probably just whatever, just like tiny meetings or whatever. But yeah.
No like official meetings, I guess. No intersections of relationshipality. But he thinks the only way to break it off is by handing the bartender, he hands him a coin, right? And he says, my favorite number is 1818.
that's such a good ass like movie moment. I don't know. Like it's just a very movie thing to do.
and so powerful and so beautiful and wonderful and everything you want a movie to be. And one of the many moments of the movie where they play with color, in which everything is black
Hmm.
and white except the jukebox and I think one other thing. I don't remember. There's something else that's like red or something, but everything else is in black and white. And the song comes on
Yeah. It's a
and
great
it's
song. It's about
touching
like
and beautiful.
forgetting a guy. Yeah. It's
Mm-hmm.
about like forgetting someone, which, it's like trying to send the message to her that, she ought to forget him. Powerful moment where she's at the bar and she's like losing her mind.
I'm scrolling through the movie right now to see what
Hmm?
I was scrolling through the movie to figure out what happened next because if I don't watch the movie while we are on the podcast, I will forget it.
No, I mean, like it doesn't really matter. The whole movie is like it just kind of go like it's just one of those movies that goes back and forth between all the different like plots. So it doesn't really matter the order. It just kind of what happens, right? And like you said, you have that moment of the jukebox moment. Like I said, great cinematic moment, and you get that other moment too that I really like too, where the mute guy encounters that one woman who's like talking on the phone with
Yes.
like an
Great
ex
scene.
boyfriend. Great scene, and she is like super upset, and it's like the camera's like right up on her face too. I love that. Like I love when it's like you get these wide angle lenses and the camera's just like right up in their and like yeah, she is like really upset and she's a really great actor. She does a good job and he helps her like try to find her like ex-boyfriend and the girl he's seeing now that she's gonna marry and they go to that like apartment and they keep like
Blondie.
which is kind of weird like I guess is this the blondie that we know that is seeing the assassin? I think it's someone different.
But I mean, they call anyone with blonde hair blondie, so I think it's just like a term.
Maybe there's something missing in the language there for us
Yeah,
because I don't think it's the same person at all. I think it's
it's like a nickname, or not even a nickname, but it's like you call someone a hipster or a hippie or something like that. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's like
that's a
a
good point.
definable
Yeah.
range of
Yeah, you're
people.
probably because then they have that restaurant. They're at the restaurant and they're eating the mute and the
Exactly.
woman that he meets, and there's like the guy in front of him, and he's like, "Yeah, my name is Blondie. What of it?" And then a whole fight starts for no reason.
Attack
Like
him.
I don't even know like the reason like for the fighting or whatever, but it just is, and they like have this like scene where like the frame rate it just goes crazy, and like everybody's like going crazy fighting each other for whatever reason. Once again,
Yeah,
very John Woo oriented action scenes going on there.
it's a blast. But this woman is wild. She's calling her boyfriend. She's calling all kinds of people. She's getting ready to beat people up, and the mute man is on her side. He's ready to help her out to find this blondie, whoever this blondie is. And I think maybe it has something to do with this idea of because all of the people that they call blondies in this movie are all people who dye their hair blonde. None of them are naturally blonde. And so I think it has something to do with the idea of kind of throwing away of who you are or trying to be someone else, much like the weird situation that Hong Kong was in. While it's still kind of part of China, but it's also technically part of Britain, and it's this weird amalgamation of things because there's not really British people in Hong Kong, so it's not like I don't know, it's not like parts of India when like they colonize. It's more of just
They meet a few British people in the movie.
they do.
They do. I think the mute runs into a few white guys.
Yeah, that's right. I remember. But very like offhand, like they're very much just
Yeah, yeah. They're not main characters.
no, and they're nothing more than scenery, I suppose. And in the same way, these people who dye their hair blonde are trying to be something that they're not, much like Blondie when she
Right. She talks about this.
when she meets the assassin, she's trying to be someone new, trying to be someone different because she believes that the old version of her is the reason that the assassin left in the first place. So by dyeing her hair blonde, she can sort of start over. But of course, that doesn't end well either.
Right, yeah. And it's just the assassin is essentially cutting off everybody from his relationships if right, like he is like ending the relationship with like blondies or ending the relationship with the assistant and all of these things you get that moment where I think he's talking at the bar with the assistant, right?
Yeah.
But I think Blondie is there too, right? Oh, you also have that moment earlier in the movie too where they walk by each other and they can smell. Yeah, they can recognize the smell off of each other, and it's like,
Yeah.
that's a really good moment too, where they
It's a
have kind
weird
of like a
primal
little
moment.
crazy connection, and like they don't even talk to each other at all. They just like through voiceover, they just recognize each other. Yeah, Blondie like sets up a meeting between the two of them, I guess, and they have that moment where they're talking. And yeah, there's that whole kind of crazy scene where they're like in the bar and she like buys like a bag of chips and she goes out in the rain and you never ever hear their conversation between the assistant and the assassin. It just basically just focuses on Blondie, who's kind of like on the outskirts of the whole conversation.
And as a viewer, I feel we can best relate to Blondie of all the characters in this film
Sure.
because the director does this thing where even though you're getting these voiceovers, even though you're living these lives with these people, it always feels as if there's things being hidden, as if there are things that are being obfuscated, as if you can never really be part of these people's lives, as if you're kind of watching them through a glass, through a screen, as it were. There's just some missing connection there, which is very purposeful. I don't think this is accidental at
Definitely.
all. There's this lack of emotional connection to these characters as if these characters are purposefully hiding it away, and by obfuscating those kind of conversations like the conversation with the partner, which feel like these very traditionally cinematic moments that he is purposely stepping away from. I mean, he's flipping cinema on its head, Andrew. He's flipping it all around.
I guess so, yeah. It's just yeah, he just kind of is completely uninterested in, I don't know, like long formal conversations and is more interested in, maybe shorter ones that say very little but of course say a lot, right? And him and Blondie, they talk a lot, but Blondie does a lot of the talking, and you have that great moment too where he essentially ends their relationship, if they had any relationship. And he says like, oh, I think in the voiceover he says when they break it up, like he doesn't say it to her. He says in the voiceover, like she will end up forgetting me. I'm simply another.
It's a great line.
It's a very impressively written line about just kind of like being another, I don't know, part, kind of like another stepping stone in her life, and she'll end up forgetting me, and it's okay. And whether or not that's true is true, I don't really know. It ends up being true for one of our characters, of course. That kind of ends up happening to our mute character as well, of course, where remember he is this is towards the end of the movie, so I'm kind of jumping around, but whatever.
Yeah.
That happens to our mute character where he's like hanging out at a food stall and the girl that he met earlier shows up again and she's wearing like a
Flight
flight attendant
attendant.
uniform, I think.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. And she's like talking on the phone and stuff, and her boyfriend reaches him and he's like doing like this big thing where he's trying to get attention from her, but she doesn't remember him at all. Right, like it's a
Yeah.
completely, for whatever reason, her brain was operating at a different capacity and different level at the time that they had known each other, and for him he hasn't changed at all, and so he remembers her very well, and she made a big impression on him, but he seemingly had no impression on him, and it's a sad scene.
Yeah. It's an intense moment. And he does try to change because there's that great moment where he works at that bar restaurant place
And he meets the assassin, right?
and they meet the assassin. Yeah, you kind of get the
Right. They
mixing of
collide for a minute.
worlds,
Yeah.
which is great because that's the only time that the two characters collide, I
Right.
believe, in the whole movie. But it's a great little scene where the bar owner has a conversation with the assassin about, the idea of buying a place like this. And he's like, I'll give you advice and all that. Because we see at this point that the assassin's like, he's ready. He's done. He's going to
Yeah. He's kind of,
open his
yeah.
own bar. He's ready to be out of this assassin game. And the mute is, he's making food. He's doing his best. He's got a real job. And there's that great moment afterwards, which we watch the bar owner communicate with his children via videotapes, because I guess his children or his family don't live in Hong Kong, but he does, is the idea. So because he used to be like a film director.
Yeah.
So he makes these little
He
videotapes.
has a movie camera. Yeah. And I think, yeah, he gets the movie camera. Yeah, he gets the mute gets a movie camera, and then you have like these, various scenes where he's like recording like videos of his dad because his dad is basically his closest friend. So just recording his dad doing like just various stuff,
Yeah, like making
sleeping,
dinner
cooking,
and
yeah, doing all that stuff. So you just get a lot of that stuff, and that stuff is really nice. And of course, that culminates at the very end of the movie, but that happens at the very very end of the movie. Like we've been talking about with the assassin and the assistant. The assistant is like about to be cut off, but she says, I just need to do one more job. Let's do one more job. Why don't we?
classic one more job.
Yeah, classic one more job, just and he's like, okay, let's do it. But it is interesting because I think like even though he doesn't want to do it anymore, there is this resignation that the job isn't going to go well.
Yeah.
Even though the assassin agrees, even though he probably shouldn't, he agrees anyway. But he is like sloppy about this job in particular. First of all, it's a setup. She is setting him up to get killed because I'm assuming she is just very upset with him and she can't live without him, whatever. But I think he's aware of that, even though he doesn't really actually 100% know. It's very interesting. Once again, it's the telepathic thing going on where for some reason he agrees to do it and he goes into it doing it anyway, just because, I don't know, he's just that kind of guy, but he still recognizes that he's probably being set up, which is very interesting.
Yeah, there's something subconscious about his decision, as if even though on a conscious level he knows that's a setup, he knows that's a bad idea, something primal is leading forward. There's this almost guilt he has towards this woman, as if he owes her something for what he's done, as if he's betrayed her in some way, and as if he deserves the setup. So there's almost this, what's that samurai thing called in Japan where they commit suicide?
Like what Mishima did.
Yeah, exactly. There's almost something like that in this final moments for him, as if he knows this is going to happen. He knows how this is going to go down. I mean, if you walk into a setup, there's very little chance you're going to live, and he knows that, and he does it anyways.
Doesn't he like drink right before he goes to like kill these people?
Yeah, exactly.
Before he attempts to kill these people? Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they get him.
They kill him. Yeah, they get into the fight and he kills the hell out of him. They kill the hell out of him. But it's like this with the voiceover and with in the way that he dies, it's like this he's not angry or upset.
No.
He's more kind of resigned to the fact that I live my life the way that I did and I'm okay with that. And I had every intention of moving on and doing something else. And if I die now, that's fine. And that's kind of the more or less that's what he kind of says in the voiceover, pretty much, and what is communicated in the visuals.
Absolutely. And it reminds me of those first moments on the bus where he's invited to that wedding,
Right.
and he talks about the idea that the wedding just isn't his scene. Not so much that, he doesn't care about the person or the type of thing, but rather he's just not that kind of person. That's just not who he is as a human being. And his life as an assassin is who he is. I mean, he's been doing it so long that there is no part of him that isn't an assassin. So this ending feels sort of inevitable. There is no escape from being an assassin. Like there is no moving on and opening a bar and starting again for him. And I think that's also part of the reason that he goes, is because he sees that he has been defined by this job, by this life, and there's nothing beyond that. There is nothing more. There is only this. So there is only one way to die, and that is by being killed by other assassins.
Yeah. And that's it. He dies. And like you said, he dies. And shortly after that, we return to the mute character who is upset. His father just basically suddenly died. He explains in the voiceover that he had to go to the hospital and then he died.
Yeah.
Which sucks because, you got to see them kind of hang out in their relationship. It's just, a cool father and son relationship, them chilling, hanging out. And then he just dies. And, he talks about like sitting in the apartment, right? And he's like watching the videotapes that he's recorded throughout the movie and him just like watching them over and over again of his father doing, the things that he was doing.
Yeah. incredibly powerful moment. And I think what's so powerful about that moment, and the reason it works so well, is because he's not necessarily watching the tapes because of what's on the footage, but rather he's remembering those moments when his father sat down, snuck out of the bedroom after the mute had fallen asleep. And he's remembering those moments where the father enjoyed the creation that the mute had made. Because that's the only thing that the mute has made through this film. It's his own creation, it's his own art, or whatever you want to call it. Because pretty much everything else he's done, right? He's always sort of loafing off of others. He's breaking into restaurants and butcher shops and whatever.
Right.
But the videotapes, those are completely him. Those are something that he made all on his own. And his father loves it. His father enjoys it. And there's some sort of pride in that and happiness in that. And such a powerful moment to watch the son go back and watch those videos and remember that moment, and to watch the same thing over and over and over again. Because just like the creation of the videos for the son, sort of his art form for the father, that was the cooking. And those are kind of the final things you see from the videotape, or
Yeah, sure.
watching him be his happiest while he's cooking. It's a very touching and beautiful moment, very powerful.
Yeah, all that is really good, and then right after that is when you have that scene where he meets his friend again, and like we
This poor
discussed,
man.
and to kind of like to kind of signify that things are bad for him again because his father died, like his basically one friend died, and I think too he beats up the guy again, the guy with the ice cream. I think he like fucks with him again. I think he cuts off his hair. I don't remember if that's around this point or earlier in the movie, but he does that too.
Yeah.
You just pretty much have like the ending of the movie, right? Like you have the amazing ending.
Yeah, we already talked about the part where the mute meets the woman again and he tries to get her
Right.
attention.
Yeah.
Which again is a great scene. And then we get the final scene where, again, it's always fun to have these like separate characters living separate lives.
Yeah. And then they collide. Yeah. So great. It's so satisfying.
And the partner is at a restaurant of some kind. And again, he does this great thing, which he does a lot in the film, where you'll have a close up of like the person's face in a wide angle lens, and then behind them there's like this crazy fight going on, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And the mute is part of this fight. They're fisticuffing, as it were.
She's like at a restaurant. She's talking about like in the voiceover about how like basically upset and fucked up she is. She is completely beside herself.
Apparently, killing the person you love does not always go the way you want it to.
Yeah, I get, it's just
Had to be done. It's the one less job. That wonderful little moment. They connect.
yeah, he gets beaten up and they're both like sitting next to each other, right? In the voiceover, they both talk about how like they had seen each other before. They see each other before, by the way, in like the apartment building.
Yeah.
So they've had like an encounter before, but they're like in the restaurant and, they're just like, yeah, I've met this person before. We've never had a connection. We don't have any chemistry. There's nothing going on, but for some reason, like the mute is saying this, for some reason right here, right now, I have a just sudden feeling, connection with this person for some reason. The assistant in the voiceover essentially says the same thing. And as she says in the voiceover, I can you take me a ride home? And they have that great. I love all the motorcycle footage when they go through the green tunnels. Those are so
Yeah, it's
great.
so
And
green.
yeah, they're just like, and they're going through the tunnel, and and she's like, on a motorcycle with them, and as she says in the voiceover, it's a nice moment to be with this guy, and they're two totally different people. There's no relationship or anything like that. The song that plays at the end, by the way, is an amazing song. The two characters have been through a lot, and for a brief moment, they kind of share this connection that is completely fleeting. It doesn't really mean much or anything, but it still means a whole lot more than whatever was going on right before that.
For those couple of seconds, that meeting is the most powerful of things. And they go through the tunnel. And I love that closing shot where
Right, exactly. Where
we tilt up, and for the first time,
you see it's
it's
the morning.
morning, it's
It's
day,
so
right?
good. It's so good. It's wow, it's perfect.
Oh, it's so great. It's as if these people have lived in perpetual darkness, as if night is their whole life. And
Right.
kind of to see daylight is the transition into something new, whatever that may be, whatever, whether this connection is just momentary and, that's the end of it, or whatever, or if it's something more, it's the beginning of something new, and it's very powerful, very touching.
I like to think that it isn't anything new at all. At least it is something. It's like you said, it's the morning. Yeah, that's a great ending.
Great ending to a great movie.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of this movie. Kind of everything you want in a movie, I would say. Like, get it all. You get it all in there. You get gangster, assassin kind of violence. You get romance that is like fleeting and complicated. All kinds of different relationships, friendships, familial relationships, and from a style point of view and from a stylistic point of view, I think it's pitch perfect. It's very green, but I love the scenes of Hong Kong at night. It's perfect. It's perfect for movies. And yeah, it's just fantastic. The way that the movie moves and flows is just, it shouldn't work, but it really does really well. And I don't know, it's really hard for me to kind of part and parcel it because there's so much great stuff in it. And I don't know what else to say. Wong Kar-wai, it's not like he's an obscure director or anything.
No.
Like, he's very celebrated. I think everyone loves him. He's a great director to watch when you're like 16 or 17
Hmm.
because it makes, I think that the high emotional but subdued feelings are something that I think a teenager connect with, and the stylism of it is also very heightened. I feel like it kind of interacts with that kind of brain. But yeah, like I like Fallen Angels a lot, and I'm a big fan of In the Mood for Love. But it's been a while since I've seen that movie, and I mean, this movie, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a little bit better. So I'll give it a 9/10.
Wow. Big words, big words. A lot of 9 out of 10s here lately. Been watching a lot of great things.
It's funny. This movie also kind of reminds me of the last movie we watched, Scream. Just kind of like that, but it's like two different sides of the coin. Kind of the '90s style, music,
Yeah.
fashion. That's my last point.
No, I completely agree with everything you're saying here. What a green movie. I love all of the different style choices that are taken here. Just so many creative risks, just willing to do a million different things with the camera and the lighting and the editing and just not giving a shit about what anyone else thinks. It's a very powerful film, very touching film. The performances are beautiful. So many bops, time after time again. The action scenes are absolutely wonderful. I think if I had any complaints at all with this film, it does feel a bit disjointed. And of course, that's all very purposeful. So it's hard to even complain about that. But for me, it's a bit challenging to find the through line, and that challenged me as a viewer a bit because it's hard to kind of grasp onto anything because there is no sort of straight plot of A happens and B happens and C happens. It's more of just living a day in the life of these people and watching them kind of experience the world that they do, which is very powerful in its own way, but still incredible all around. So I'm going to give this a very strong 8 out of 10. I don't think it beats In the Mood for Love for me, but I've also seen In the Mood for Love many times. And I've only seen this once. So, but they're very different films. I mean, even though they're the same director, they are very different films. I mean, they could not be more different in the way they're shot, edited.
I guess just in that aspect, yeah.
I mean, it's still very much him. Like, it's still very much his reflection of his direction style, but sort of opts into the spectrum for him, but still kind of that same genre, if you will.
It rocks.
Yeah. All right, y'all. You can find everything I do at Austin Lugo 12.
I'm on Letterboxd at Retro Andrew, RATR0 Andrew.
And you can find this podcast wherever you hear podcasts. You can also find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at With Nothing to Say or Theater 42. And thank you all for listening.
Thanks again.